In the proposal program, there's a tab that says Help, and at the bottom of that tab, there's a link that says GP dollar help. If you click on that, this actually will open up. This will help you to figure out what your gross profit per hour or per day is. And I want to do this for the installation department. So you have the ability to submit this to us, and we could actually help you with understanding how it works. But let's take a company that has an annual revenue of $2 million. And let's say that their 35% of their company sales is actually overhead. So that means $700,000 is annual overhead. If I divide that by 12, my monthly overhead is $58,333. Now, I know that overhead does have fixed costs and it also has variable costs, but looking at it just from a straight up 12-month running overhead, that would be what you would look at, 58,000. Okay, so I would want you to think about this more representative than so much scientific from a math perspective, because what we're trying to do is just get a number of a gross profit per hour or a gross profit per day. Now, your net profit, let's say that we wanted to make 10% net profit. That means on $2 million, we're going to want to make $200,000 over the year, which is $16,667 a month. Okay, so 200,000 plus 700,000 is 900,000. So gross profit is overhead plus net profit, meaning that 45% of my $2 million is attributed to gross profit. So that means that when I add these two numbers together, the 58,000 and the 16,000, I get 75,000 total dollars, which is $17,441 a week. Okay? Now, as a company, I know that I can deliver more cash and in a bigger perspective in my AOR department, add-on replacement. So if I wanted to say that I wanted to cover all of my overhead in the company, that means I would need to get 75,000 per week in that department. Okay, so you want to just play with these numbers, because ultimately what it is there's two critical factors when you're thinking about this. What will my market bear as the high-end price, and then what is the threshold of what I need to make per hour per man. So if I wanted to let 75% of my add-on replacement department cover overhead and 25% is service, maintenance, maybe even a little bit of commercial, then that means I can drive down the overhead, the gross profit for the week. Okay? All right. So when we look at that, we can take our total number of employees in our company and we enter it here. And the KPI is 125,000 per employee. So if I said I had 15 employees, that's $133,333 sales per employee. Notice if I go to 16, it matches the KPI. So you're just going to enter here whatever it is the actual number is. And this really has nothing to do with the calculating of the gross profit. It just gives you an idea of where you are. Now, we're going to try to figure out the gross profit for our installation department. So let's say that we have 4 employees in that department. Maybe it's two installers, installer, lead installer, and maybe like a helper. But I have 4 employees that I got to drive gross profit off of that. And let's say that there's 172 hours a month, but let's say in that month we're only going to be available for 50% of the time. Well, there's 20 possible work days. That means that 50% of the time I'm going to plan on being busy 10 of those days. So my adjusted billing hours is 86. If I said, you know what, I'm busy all the time, every day we have a job, you'll notice that your gross profit per hour goes way down. But quite frankly, it goes down so low that it goes down way below what the market will bear. So plan on having some failure. So that means that each employee of the 4 employees has to deliver $164 in gross profit for the 75% of the gross profit for the week, which is $1,308 per man per day. Okay? So when we take this, we look at, you're just going to want to look at the number of jobs you do, and in this case I'm going to have 4 people busy for 10 days out of the month. That means that 10 of those days they're not doing anything, or maybe they're doing 2-day jobs, right? So if we, the point is, if we plan to be busy 100% of the time and we don't do 20 jobs times 4 guys, then we're gonna struggle. So let's plan on being busy less of the time. Let's go maybe 65%, and that'll be 13 days. So my gross profit per hour per man is 126. This $1,000 right here is 126 times 8. We're basing it on an 8-hour day. Okay. Now I've added a few things in here to explain the difference between overhead and cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold are going to be equipment, materials, labor, permits, any kind of additional actions you're going to do, like cranes. These are non-taxable actions, like maybe a permit. Perhaps your warranty reserve will be in there. Where overhead is rent, officer salaries, phones, utilities, inside staff, advertising, insurance, training, vacation, truck maintenance, truck lease, fuel. All of those things are in your overhead, which is up here in this number right here, this 58,000 a month. Okay. Now, when you come down here, and let's say that we did have that $126 an hour, and we had a 16-hour job. That's 2 guys for 8 hours. So when we look at this, the 2013 is going to be what's going to drive the price. So the 2013 plus the cost of goods sold, which is what is right here, equipment, materials, labor, permits, additional services. When I add those two together, I get my selling price. And you notice that the gross margin goes up as you go down in the lower end products. Okay. In the program, if you wanted to add some additional percentage, like say we add additional gross profit percentage here, it would actually add GP to the selling price. The markup model, if you read my blog, it talks about markup, and many dealers will say, well, you know what, I mark my equipment up 40%, thinking that that's a margin. But if you take 3,500 and multiply it times 1.4, you get a selling price of 4,900. When you subtract that from the cost of goods sold, it actually is only 28.6% gross profit. Now you'll notice that if I take my hourly 16 hours and I divide that, I'm only making $88 an hour on that situation. So here's a situation where I should want to realize that if I'm going to use the markup model, you better be up closer to 2.0 is 50%. Okay, so 3,500 times 2.0, selling price is 7,000. My gross profit is 50%, and now you'll see that we're closer to our gross profit per hour based on 2 men. Okay. Now, the way the program used to work, or it still does work this way, and many dealers will still begin to use this. If you have a cost of goods sold of, let's say, $5,000, and you put a 35% margin on it, you'll see our gross profit goes to $26.92, but you'll also see that the $168 is my gross profit per hour. And based on up here, for 1 man, and this is a 2-man job, I'm actually not getting enough gross profit to cover the 2 men that are going to be on the job. So you can play with this. You can submit this to us. It will come directly to us. If you want to call us, we can walk you through it. You don't have to put your company name on it. Just put your email address so we can kind of know if you want to keep it confidential. But we will need to get a call from you with some sort of an indicator of who it is that is submitting it, so we'll know who we're talking to. So hopefully this will help you with determining gross profit per hour, and look for more videos in the future.